Every flight begins and ends here. A strip of asphalt, scorched by jet engines and marred with rubber. But not all runways are created equal. One of the world's most notorious is runway 35L at Congonhas Airport in Brazil.
It could surprise you at any moment.
In July 2007, TAM Airlines Flight 3054 becomes its latest victim.
Accelerate. Accelerate. It can. It can.
The runway claims 199 lives. It would be carefully scrutinized, its history reviewed. Investigators desperately need to know why runway 35L is so dangerous.
35L. 35.
Before more lives are lost. Heavy rains pound Brazil's largest city. Sao Paulo sees this kind of deluge regularly during the winter rains. The downpour snarls traffic to and from Congonhas Airport. 800 kilometers away, TAM Airlines Flight 3054 is en route from the southern Brazilian city of Porto Alegre. The Airbus A320 is headed for Sao Paulo, 90 minutes away. For the 181 passengers on board, it's a routine domestic flight. But there's been an unexpected development for Captain Henrique Stefanini de Sacco. He and his first officer, Kleiber Lima, have just learned that the heavy rain has temporarily shut down runway 35L, the main runway at their destination.
Did they say when it would reopen?
No.
Let's prepare an alternate just in case.
Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like due to the weather we may not be able to land at Congonhas as planned.
I will keep you advised as I get more information.
Congonhas Airport is one of the busiest in the world. Planes take off and land here every 90 seconds, carrying a steady stream of people and cargo into the country's economic hub. But Congonhas is also notorious among pilots. The airport lies in the heart of the city, crowded on all sides by apartment buildings, offices, and roadways. Runway 35L is less than 2,000 meters long, short for large jets. Even worse, it's built on a hilltop with a sharp drop-off on all sides.
The risk the airport poses, due to its construction, due to its geography, it does not allow for simple mistakes.
Captain Carlos Camacho is the flight safety director of the Brazilian Pilots Union.
As you approach the runway, your adrenaline is really pumping. For us pilots, it's like landing on an aircraft carrier.
It makes Congonhas one of the most treacherous airports in the world. In fact, a Pantanal Airlines commuter plane spun out of control while landing just the day before. And a few months ago, disaster was narrowly averted when a Boeing 737 came skidding to a stop, just inches before the steep embankment at the end of runway 35L.
When pilots begin landing at Congonhas, they're more worried than when operating at any other national airport.
Flight 3054 is at cruising altitude south of Sao Paulo when the crew gets news that runway 35L is back in operation.
3054, 35L is the active runway.
There's no need to divert.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have some good news for you. The runway at
Congonhas has reopened. We'll arrive as scheduled shortly before 7 p.m.
The relief of the passengers is not shared by the pilot. Stefanini has an additional challenge on this flight.
Remember, we only have one reverse, sir.
Yes. Only the left.
He will have to land at one of the world's most challenging airports, with less than the usual amount of stopping power. One of the Airbus's 2 thrust reversers isn't working. The devices are designed to slow the aircraft on landing by reversing engine thrust.
If I was the pilot that day, I would be extremely concerned knowing that one of my reversers wasn't functioning.
TAM 3054, 35L, clear to land.
Stefanini will be landing on the infamous runway 35L.
The runway is wet and it's slippery. Wind is 330 at 8 knots.
The crew was informed of poor braking conditions on the runway.
The Airbus is on final approach. Even though the autopilot could get the plane to the runway, the captain decides to take over the controls himself.
land green, manual flight.
He wants to bring the plane in as close to the runway threshold as possible. He needs every inch of runway he can get.
35 out. 35 out.
The concern was that after touching down, the pilots needed to be sure that they would be able to stop their plane before the end of the runway.
The passengers only know that they'll soon be landing. Now they're only 300 feet above the city. The Airbus is lined up with the center of the runway.
Middle.
The one-way conditions.
200, 200. 100, 100.
1.9. Okay.
The plane's wheels will touch the Congonhas tarmac in seconds.
20. Return.
As the plane touches down, their worries about landing are only just beginning.
Captain Stefanini applies reverse thrust to the A320's only working reverser.
The pilot would have to activate the reverser on the engine that had a working reverser as fast as possible to initiate deceleration.
But the plane is not slowing down.
Reverse number one only.
At this rate, it will use up the entire 1,945 meters of runway in less than 30 seconds.
Decelerate.
It can't!
The pilots operated the foot brakes with the pedals, pressing on them for a long time.
Look at this.
Now,
Look at this.
the aircraft mysteriously pulls to the left.
Turn!
It's almost as if it has a mind of its own.
Oh my God!
Flight 3054 has slammed into a TAM Airlines building and an adjacent gas station. Nearly 200 firefighters descend on the scene. They face a raging fuel fire, burning at almost 1,000 degrees Celsius. The devastation horrifies Dr. Douglas Ferrari.
The explosion spread fire throughout the entire area. There was a fire in the gas station, killing the people who were filling up their tanks, burning the whole structure, turning it unrecognizable.
He had hoped to treat survivors, but now he fears there might not be any.
We had 4 cars on fire. In one of these cars, I saw a mother with her child, dead.
The entire plane is engulfed in flames. There's little hope for anyone inside. But now there is a new danger. Huge quantities of fuel in the storage tanks beneath the gas station could blow up at any moment. Rescuers hope they can save people in the TAM Airlines building. But with the fire raging out of control, they will have to act fast.
We tried to rescue the people from inside the building. I was anxious to help them.
Dr. Ferrari makes a grim find inside the TAM Airlines offices.
The airplane wing blocked the way. It prevented people from escaping. I was behind the firefighter accompanying me while he moved bodies to the sidewalk. It was a horrible feeling.
But they do locate some office workers in another part of the building and rush them to safety.
On the right side of the building, where there was no obstruction, there was time for people to get out. About 10 or 20 people made it.
No one in the aircraft has survived. 199 people are dead, including a dozen people in the gas station and the TAM building. It's the worst aviation accident in South American history.
The black boxes will not last long in the heat!
Lieutenant Colonel Fernando Camargo is an accident investigator with CENIPA, the country's aviation safety agency.
In modern aircraft, the recorders are the core of any investigation. So when we arrived at the crash site and we saw that strong fire, we got really concerned about the integrity of the data.
He knows the intense heat could already be damaging the plane's data and voice recorders. Valuable evidence that could help explain the crash may already be lost. Colonel Camargo and his team know that just the day before, another plane slid off runway 35L.
We knew that we would have to run a complete investigation on the runway.
If a rain-slicked runway caused this crash, disaster could strike again soon. The pressure is on to figure out exactly what happened to Flight 3054.
I knew that there was a video from the surveillance system.
That's the time of the accident. That must be it.
The airport surveillance system captured the doomed Airbus speeding down the runway.
This video could